Grab your whip, stock up on holy water, and prepare to face the perils of Dracula's castle. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Castlevania games. For this list, anything with Castlevania in the name is eligible for this list, and we're ranking the games based on how good they were at launch and balanced it with how well they hold up today. Number 10, Order of Ecclesia. We're starting this list off with a very strong entry, one of 3 Metroidvania-style games that was released on the DS. Here, you take on the role of Shanoa, who has the ability to absorb magical glyphs, which she can use as weapons or skills for puzzle solving. Venturing to various locations around the outskirts of Dracula's castle, this game is a solid entry and a great game for any Nintendo DS owner. Number 9, Lords of Shadow.
Victory is the natural objective of every creature on this world.
3D Castlevania games have often struggled to have a standout identity compared to the 2D entries, but Lords of Shadow has shown that it can be done. While some may disregard this as a God of War or Shadow of the Colossus clone, what they did miss out on is a challenging and strikingly beautiful game with top-notch voice work by Robert Carlyle and Patrick Stewart.
Forgive me, brother, but my need is far greater than yours.
Number 8, Castlevania. Here it is, the game that started it all, not to be confused with Vampire Killer on the MSX2. This game on the NES proved to be a classic for the system. Whipping his way through skeletons, ghouls, and those freaking Medusa heads, Simon Belmont introduced us to the Belmont clan in their endless quest to defeat Dracula. Those looking to give this a shot should know that it's still as difficult as it was back in the day. Number 7, Bloodlines. Known as Castlevania The New Generation in Europe, this game was the Sega Genesis sole offering of the Castlevania series. Split between 2 protagonists, with John Morris, who brings the traditional Vampire Killer whip, and Eric Lecard, who's armed with a spear, the 2 heroes travel all over World War I era Europe with scenery that pushed the Genesis to its limits. Number 6, Portrait of Ruin. The second DS Metroidvania title to make this list, Portrait of Ruin's plot directly follows up from Bloodlines, with John's son Jonathan taking up the whip alongside his childhood friend and mage, Charlotte. With Dracula's castle now being used to house magical paintings that contain worlds of their own, the 2 characters can be switched on the fly, or can be used together to solve puzzles and cast screen-filling spells. Number 5, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. After the disappointment of Simon's Quest, Dracula's Curse took the series back to its original gameplay and added some changes for the better to make it one of the best NES games, and it still holds up really well today. Notable introductions include a new Belmont in the form of Trevor, as well as other characters like Grant, a wall-climbing hunchback, and one of the series' most iconic characters, Alucard. Number 4, Rondo of Blood. While Japan enjoyed the epic action that this TurboGrafx exclusive offered, Western fans had to deal with the lousy Dracula X on the SNES. Rondo of Blood has players taking on the role of Richter Belmont, with the help of dove-throwing Maria, as they have to save 3 other maidens, including Richter's girlfriend, in this prequel to Symphony of the Night.
Such a fine girl. Surely the blood of a beautiful woman will quench the thirst in my body.
The PSP remake Dracula X Chronicles wasn't as good as the original, but it did contain the original for the Western fans, so that's always nice. Number 3, Super Castlevania 4. We're not exactly sure if this is a reboot or a follow-up to the first Castlevania game, but whatever it is, it's fantastic. It's the only entry in the franchise, aside from Mirror of Fate, that allows you to whip in multiple directions, and it utilizes the SNES's Mode 7 graphics ability for some crazy level design. Fans often argue between this and Rondo of Blood over which is the better classic action game, but we're going with number 3 since it took way too long for Rondo to get into our hands. Number 2, Area of Sorrow. With the prior Castlevania games taking place in the past, this one takes place in the year 2035 and focuses on Soma Cruz, an exchange student in Japan who has the ability to absorb the souls of random fiends, which, just like Shinoa, allows him to use these souls as weapons and abilities. We listed this game as our #1 Game Boy Advance game, and we stand by our pick, seeing as it got a direct sequel in Dawn of Sorrow, which was good, but this was still better. Before we get to the #1 spot, let's take a look at some honorable mentions. Number 1, Symphony of the Night. Hardcore Castlevania fans won't be surprised by this choice. After all, it was the game that pretty much modernized the Metroidvania genre. By using Super Metroid's level design style and giving it an RPG skill set for unique pacing, you get this masterfully crafted symphony. Alucard from Dracula's Quest returns to lead this quest through not one, but 2 castles in a unique, non-linear adventure that keeps you coming back for more.
No! It cannot be!
Do you agree with our list? Which Castlevania adventure made you want to become a vampire killer? For more top 10s whipped up every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.